My name is Sally Metcalfe. I'm here on behalf of the Texas trial lawyers. I want to thank Representative White. I know he's had an opportunity to meet with some members of our organization and visit about this bill. I do want to express some concerns that we do have about the proposed legislation. I think Mr. Short brought up some good points on, what is the need for this bill. Current law has held that the statute at issue, the 3801 and 006, it does not apply to claims of veterinary malpractice. Courts adopt plain language interpretation where possible, meaning they give plain meaning to the laws and don't stretch the words to apply to greater fact patterns and situations. And I think that's important to recognize here. In a veterinary malpractice case, a claimant must be successful in proving underlying veterinary malpractice before a court could even consider awarding attorney's fees. And the current law says they may award attorney's fees. It's a discretionary thing. It's not a must in the statute. I can tell you we have not found any case where a court has awarded attorney's fees on a claim for veterinary malpractice. Since 1901, since the statute's been in place, we haven't found that has actually occurred. Malpractice cases have a very high burden. The claimant must prove their case, must win and prove the malpractice, and then seek attorney's fees, which the court may award, but it doesn't actually end then, because the claimant must prove that those attorney's fees are reasonable. And I think that in itself takes care of this concern that exists with these being exorbitant or unreasonable attorney's fees. I think there's been a comparison, or there's been talk that this doesn't apply to any other professional malpractice, and I can tell you we found that not to be the case. There are several professions which are subject to attorney fee collections under 3801. The statute, realtors, lawyers, architects, engineers, many of them can have a situation where the written contract is the basis for the claim for professional fees. In addition, I think that there has been a comparison on looking at other types of malpractice, and this is very different than any type of malpractice where human beings are involved. It's comparing, I think, apples to aardvarks here. Veterinary malpractice, your recovery is limited to the market value of the animal and the vet bill. You don't get pain and suffering, lost income, no future medical care. That's not included. In addition, veterinary hospitals don't have the protections in place that you have for hospitals that treat human beings. The technicians are not always licensed. There are a lot of very significant differences. Finally, if you're concerned about the attorney's fees being inflated or grossly inflated, those certainly a defendant could challenge the reasonableness of those and could also make an offer of settlement under Texas Rule of Civil Procedure 167, which is already in place. In that case, if a defendant prevails, they can collect attorney's fees, court costs, and costs associated with up to 2 testifying experts. I think that I've been here for a large part of the day, and I heard a gentleman say earlier, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I think that we should avoid passing laws for phantom interpretations that have not happened yet or aren't widespread. We've seen that when this happens, it often leads to new interpretations that are contrary to the original purpose of the statute. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Metcalfe, members, any questions?
There was a recent case, actually last year, 2018, and I can get you the site, but it was presented on a veterinary malpractice case. Actually, it wasn't a malpractice case, but it was involving a dog. And the court said, you don't get attorney's fees on a dog. That doesn't meet the definition of stock. But beyond that, the court didn't make any decision, and we haven't found any cases where attorney's fees were awarded under this statute.
It was a suit against a groomer. That was a lawsuit against a groomer.
Hold on. You cannot speak unless you're recognized. Okay, it's not. It's serious. It's not. This isn't funny. This could kill the bill. So, do you have further questions for Ms. Metcalfe?
I do.
Okay, Ms. Metcalfe, go ahead.
So, Ms. Metcalfe, how do you feel about attorney's fees being collected in a negligence suit?
In a negligence suit involving what? Are we looking at under the statute with stock and livestock?
Well, I'm just asking you, generally speaking, how do you feel about someone being able to collect attorney's fees as a result of a liability finding on negligence, a negligence theory?
In any type of case?
Yeah, just generally.
I think that in a situation like this where the statute allows it, if you can show that if you can prove the malpractice and the court, as I said, it's discretionary, may award attorney's fees, and you prove that those attorney's fees are reasonable, then I think it meets the criteria and the requirements as set forth.
But I thought a moment ago you said that the statute wasn't clear as to whether or not it allowed it. You said there is no case which says that Article 38 or Chapter 38 can be used in a veterinarian malpractice case, right?
It has not been used under the statute for the livestock and stock. It was attempted to be used in the grooming case, but they said, no, a dog is not stock.
Do you think that that particular section should be used for veterinarian malpractice?
Well, I think that the way that it's set out right now, I think that it could be used. However, I think, again, you would have to show, I mean, it's not a problem that's occurred. So I don't know the answer to that as we sit here right now, if it could be used. I think that that's a judicial determination that has to be made, and that hasn't been made. It hasn't even been presented. I think that most of the folks that have looked at veterinary malpractice cases have said it's just limited to the market value of the animal and the vet costs.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Ms. Metcalfe or any of the other witnesses?